Alright, what's going on, people? So today I'm going to be showing off some games from the UBL at last. It's been quite a few weeks since I've done anything related to that, and that's mostly because I myself have been kind of slacking with the UBL. I'm always like, I've barely been prepping for any of these games. I've just kind of been recycling teams, making small adjustments. For a few of the games, I wouldn't even like go back and check on the rosters. It was like right on the deadline, the last day. This is one where I did look at a roster, but I didn't realize I was looking at the wrong one. Like, that legit happened. But I still thought I had a pretty good matchup against this team. Looking at this is against my boy Shield, the New York Charizards, and let's just get right into it. So I lead up with the Charizard because I kind of figure it's the best lead against this team. Even if you led with Como, I mean, Como doesn't actually do a whole lot to Charizard, especially if it's a more special variant. It's not OHKOing or anything like that. I did kind of consider the possibility of it being the Z move, the Clanging Scales, but I do have plenty of checks to that. I have my Whimsicott, I have my Mew, because the Clanging Scales should be special. I did consider kind of like a mixed version, but you know, in general, I wasn't really scared of that, to be honest, and I did want some damage on this Como. So I just sort of stay in. He switches out. Actually, oh right, because I have HP Ice on this Charizard, that's why I just stayed in. Figuring that unless he's planning on wasting his Z move, he cannot OHKO me. In fact, I'm kind of skeptical that even Z Clanging Skills would OHKO me, because Zard is kind of bulky on the special side. And yeah, just goodbye, gone. So this is going really great for me at the start. He goes into Regice for some reason. I figured he might have something like Ancient Power. But even if it's AB, I mean, it's a Charizard in the sun. You don't you don't underestimate Charizard. Yeah, Ancient Power bounces. Like I said, Charizard White has pretty good Spadef. So now I'm going to switch out because I'm weakened. Mew is kind of just my catch-all check to everything. So I see that he's an Atomize set, so I figured maybe he's like Atomize Z. I go for the Will-O-Wisp anyway, even though he's likely special, because I was afraid of the Rogue Poison Jab for my Whimsicott. And I missed the Will-O-Wisp, so I'm like, ah, fuck, okay, I'll just have to go for it again, right? Yeah, he goes for the Clanging Scales, revealing that he is a primarily special Como. I get the burn off. It's still useful because I get the residual damage as I soft boil up here next turn. He goes for the Clanging Scales once again. I go for the soft boiled, you know how it is. And at this point, I think he's going to switch out into his Kartana. And I figure, okay, great, I'm at full. Even if he goes for the knockoff, I'll gladly take the trade if I can Will-O-Wisp. In retrospect, maybe I should have gone for the perhaps I should have gone for the knockoff just to get rid of the Scarf, because at this point I was 100% certain, looking at my team, at my roster, that he would be Scarfed. It just makes all the sense in the world. I have been bringing Scarf Flygon for the past couple of games, so he knows I might bring that again. And if he prepped, then this should be Scarf Kartana 100%. It's been doing work for him in some of his previous games. He goes for the knockoff. I figured, you know what, that's fine. If I can neuter this thing with a Will-O-Wisp, then this game is as good as mine. And I miss. So that's the second Will-O-Wisp miss. I mean, damn it, why do I even run this move? Call me Aaron Zhang. And this one actually does matter a whole lot, because now I have to switch out to prevent him from getting the boost. I go into the Whimsicott. He goes for the knockoff once again. Gets my leftovers out of here. That's kind of unfortunate too, because that means I won't be able to check his Suicune quite as well. I think I just go for the U-turn here, get some momentum back as I go into my Flygon, and I'm pretty much free to just click Outrage here. I mean, I don't, once again, if he goes back into Kartana, Kartana is not that bulky, even on the physical side, is not taking Outrages that well, and I just need damage on that so that my Sand Rush boosted superpower from, well, it doesn't actually boost the move, but it boosts my Stoutland speed, just so that OHKOs, and I just need any damage I can on that. But I actually just go for the U-turn here, and go into my Whimsicott, fearing the, oh right, I was fearing that it wouldn't kill. I forgot that Como, well, Como is pretty bulky, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't gonna die at that range to Outrage. But I wasn't calcing here, so obviously I just go for the U-turn, go back into Whimsicott. He's actually turns out to be faster than me, but I eat up that hit anyway. I just stayed here with Whimsicott. I guess I didn't have Stun Spore. No, because I had U-turn. That's right. So he gets the boosts here, and I go to my T-Tar, which I guess at this point must be Oh, right, yeah. I've been running Sash T-Tar literally every single game up to this point. So, he fears maybe a fire move. I'm actually just going to go for the Stealth Rock here, I think. Oh, no, I go for the T-Wave. That's right. So, that's what I was looking to do. I was looking to just take the hit, get to my Focus Sash, and go for the Thunder Wave. I paralyzed the Suicune instead. I think that's fine. I can just go right back out into my Charizard as he actually goes for the Toxic. I didn't think he would go for the water move right away. That's why I went into Charizard just to get the sun up, weaken his water moves, and then maybe go into a Mew or something like that. And I go for the Roost here as he goes back into his own Charizard. It is confirmed that it's Mega Charizard Y. That's his Mega. That's what he drafted. So here I switch back out into my Tyranitar. That's what's keeping me from getting basically swept by this thing. He goes for the Dragon Dance, and next turn he's going to go for the Brick Break. I live that with my Focus Sash, and then I'm going to go for the Stone Edge and knock him right out. So that's one of the biggest threats gone for my team. And at this point, it's looking kind of good for me, because I can just stay in here and keep this Suicune from setting up subs, because that is what the set turns out to be. I just get up some late game rocks. I need any damage on this Cortana as possible. Once again, for the Superpower in the back, for the Earthquake in the back. And he gets paralyzed. I missed my Stone Edge to kind of make up for that. He's going to go for sub. I mean, that's not really a big deal, as I can just go for Stone Edge anyway. And he's at the paralyzation. He's going to go for Scald, knock me right out. And then I think here I'm going to go into my... Oh, actually go into Stoutland. Oh, right, because I have Retaliate. Unfortunately, I get a crit, but he gets paralyzed anyway, so that was just hacks on top of hacks. Then I go for Return. So now it's the last Pokemon. It's the Cortana, right? And this is where me not calculating really bites me in the back here, because my first thought is, alright, he's going to go for Sacred Sword and just sweep my entire team. So my thinking here is to go into Mew, which can still take 2 Sacred Swords. And I don't know why it didn't even occur to me that Mew was going to take 2 Sacred Swords switched in. It's at like 30%. And so basically, I switch out here into Mew, predicting the Sacred Sword. Looking at my team, looking at how weakened Charizard is, I figured that's what he's going to go for to sweep my team. But he goes for Knockoff instead. And yeah, at that point I basically knew, like, fuck, I was finished, my dude. I go into Charizard thinking I might live just because I was Mega, and Knockoff would be weakened, but nope, I just dropped to that as well. Stoutland I think actually lives because I don't think I was banded, I was Z-move. I go for the Superpower, and I see this is where any damage here would have counted. The Will-O-Wisp miss matters here, but it was also just my choke because in the end I calced, and it was 100% my play to stay in with Stoutland because +1 Sacred Sword would not have killed Mew or Zard. So even if he had stayed in there and gone for Sacred Sword and I died, then I still just won with Charizard or Mew going for Will-O-Wisp. So, and then if I had stayed in with Stoutland and he'd gone for the knockoff, then at that point I would have killed him with the combination of Return plus Superpower. Because as you can see here, a +0 knockoff would not have done shit to Stoutland, and I would have just 2-hit KO'd him from there. So definitely, like, it was kind of unfortunate that I missed the Will-O-Wisp, but it was also a choke on my part at the very end. Given that 100% my play was to stay in. But I didn't do calcs, I thought I'd die to +1 Sacred Sword, and yeah, bop. So I end up losing the Cortana in the very end, which is so disappointing, but it was my misplay, and I just want to get this game out of the way because it was just fucking miserable losing to that Cortana at the last minute. Alright, so this next game, this was actually before the game that I just showed you. And this is the long-awaited, fated matchup between me and Helios-san, the man himself, Damp Song, Daniel Bong, the fated match between men. And you know damn well I was going to prepare for this match, because this was one game that I wanted to win. Because he sniped, Helios-san sniped Hitmontop off of me. I was still salty as hell about that. And I'm just going to get right into this game because he brought a really interesting team. Just his roster in general is so interesting. Especially the combination of webs plus Pokemon like not Heracross, Pinsir and Archeops scare the hell out of me. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into this. So I bring a really interesting set to deal with his team. I brought Specs Manectric because he had very few just general electric resists on his roster. Galvantula absolutely does not count. So basically, like, the gist of this team is just clicking Thunderbolt against Heliosant and watching as his non-existent electric resist crumble. But unfortunately, he bleeds out with this Golisopod, and I kind of was suspecting Banded right from the start. I figured I couldn't just leave my win condition like this against this Golisopod turn 1, like there's just no way. So I switch right out, I go into Charizard figuring that I 4 times resist the first impression, and sure enough, that is absolutely Banded. That is crazy. But the other thing about Heliosant's team is that, fire resist, my friend? So here I'm just free to click the flamethrower. He brings in Archeops thinking it's a check. Nah, son. He takes 70% from that, which is absolutely insane. And I just go into Mew because I believe I have Defog on it. I think he might just decide to go for Suicide Rocks here to try and keep my Charizard in check. Mew takes any hit anyway, especially in the Fetus. And now I think I just go for the Defog as he goes into Galvantula, which is actually a pretty huge threat because I absolutely do not want to switch in Manectric on that, given that Bug Buzz will do quite a lot. I don't really have any switch-ins to this. Tyranitar, I mean, it's an offensive variant, it's hardly a switch-in. So I believe here I kind of predict him to want to go for Webs, just to kind of neuter just all my fast threats, Stoutland and Sand, Greninja, Manectric. But he actually goes straight for the Bug Buzz. I am a little bit more specially defensive here, so it doesn't do quite as much, especially considering that's a Life Orb, but as I just go for the Stealth Rock here, just to kind of generally pressure his team, pressure Golisopod especially, get damage on Thundurus, another huge threat. He's actually really Rocks weak now that I look at this, so, and it'll probably force the Hitmontop in sooner or later, and I can absolutely take advantage of that with a lot of my team. So I switch out into the Tyranitar, just praying I can take a hit, but nope. That is oh god, that's a strong ass Bug Buzz. This is not a defensive T-Tar at all. I take more than half from that. And from there, I was planning on just sacking this and going for the Crunch, but he actually just goes into the Hitmontop here. Takes the Crunch rather well, and then here I'm going to decide to switch out into Mega Charizard Y because I figured if this is a defensive Hitmontop, it does absolutely nothing to me. Knockoff doesn't do anything. Close combat, he's gonna bounce, but he goes for the Rapid Spin, and I noticed that damage is kind of disturbing. So then I kind of consider the possibility of it being Technic Top, which is, oh yeah, and I didn't see Intimidate on Tyranitar. I had forgotten about that and switched into Charizard. And so now I was pretty much sure that it was a Technician Top. But he still doesn't even come close to KOing me at this range, especially since he did not go for the Fake Out, he went for the Rapid Spin. And now it's just time to it's time to sack. Goes into his Archeops, sacks that. And now he goes into Pinsir. I go back to Mew to just kind of sack it because looking at his team, it doesn't really do anything, especially if this Technitop does in fact have, if it's like Rapid Spin, Fake Out, Mach Punch, Knockoff, or Sucker Punch. Well, if it was Sucker Punch, Mew did something against that. But if it was Knockoff, then Mew was done here anyway. I just sort of sack it to the Mega Pinsir here, and I decide here to just kind of put on the pressure and go into Manectric. I know it's a speed type, but I really didn't have anything else to go into. Tyranitar's Sash was broken. I do have the Z move on Greninja, but the sun is still up. It's Hydro Vortex, so my only play here is to just kind of go into Manectric and force the speed type here, force the pressure, as because he does have things to switch out into, technically. But he actually goes into his Thundurus, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's his, he's going to try and go into this and offensively check me, and it does a whole lot of damage. He reveals a Citrus Berry, which is like, okay, that's odd. So that definitely means he can't kill me with anything because he's not Life Orb. And I just sort of assume that he may be slower and bulkier, and I just knock him out. Alright, I don't know what was up with that Thundurus set. Alright, and then this turn comes up. So after that whack-ass Thundurus set, Helioson's a really aggressive player. We both are. I know how he plays. He's in the back now. He's behind. He's got to make a play. If I go straight into Charizard again on the first impression, he's going to be looking for another sack. So I just kind of click the YOLO button here, and I stay in to go for the Thunderbolt, assuming he may want to go for a Liquidation, catching my Charizard instead of going for the first impression here, and I get it right. I stay in, drop him in one hit. He was indeed going to go for the Liquidation on my Zard, and, and at this point, I mean, like, his Galvantula is at 75. It's not taking any hits from this. So he goes into his Hitmontop and tries to weaken me. He tries to weaken me here. You can see him in the chat here going into full despair. In retrospect, maybe I should have switched out and sacked maybe Tyranitar since that wasn't doing anything at this point. But I just stay in, and now I kind of fear the Mach Punch doing a little bit too much. So I go into Charizard right here. He goes for the Mach Punch, does 18%. And I think I just take advantage here and go for Roost. Oh no, I go for Flamethrower. It doesn't kill because I guess Hitmontop is just that bulky. It's at 110 special defense. Okay. Here I go for the Roost and get up to around 50%. And I go for the Flamethrower here just because I don't want to mess around with this Hitmontop. If in case it might have, like, I don't know, like something crazy like Stone Edge and prep for this. Although he would have gone for it by this point. And also because if he goes out into Galvantula here predicting the second Roost, goodbye, gone. And now he goes into Pinsir. I figure I don't really need this anymore. And he just goes for the Frustration, KOs me. The Sun fades here. I kind of choke here. I didn't realize that the Sun faded. I could have gone into Greninja at this point and gone for the Hydro Vortex and then set up the Sand and then sweep from there. But instead I go back into my Neck Trick, and thankfully I win the Speed Tide. And so all that's left is this Hitmontop here. He goes for the Fake Out. He's going to knock me out with Mach Punch the next turn, which was kind of surprising. I mean, Mach Punch is not that strong. Hitmontop in general is not that strong. And here I kind of choke again. I did have Water Shuriken, but I just wanted to click the Z move. Even if he had knocked me out there, I'm not sure what kind of roll that was or if it was a roll at all. But Stoutland definitely would not have died, and Tyranitar Sandstorm would have knocked him out anyway. So that was a good game against my boy Helioson. That turn with the Golisopod and the Neck Trick definitely made the game. That just shifted the momentum completely to my favor, on top of being ahead in the first place. Alright, so now we have this game. And this game is against the Vegas Goldeen Knights. His name is Josh, I believe. I don't really know him that well, but he is actually at the top of the standings at this point. He was 7-2 coming into this. I was lagging behind a little bit. I was 5-4 coming into this game because I lost another game that I didn't show just because it wasn't very interesting, but basically Luigi 6-0'd me with Diancie. I didn't prep. This was one of those games that I just did not prep at all. I couldn't touch Diancie. It was completely miserable, and I got fucking destroyed. So I'm coming into this game 5-4. I did prep a little bit. I just kind of brought a general good team. And looking at his team right away, the first thing I noticed is that ground resist non-existent, right? Scarf Flygon just runs a complete train on his team. And so when we lead off here, he leads off with the Donphan, I lead off with Charizard. I figured that he would have prepped for Charizard given how, given his record. He's obviously been prepping for these matches. But I just kind of decided to take the trade because Donphan is one of the few things on his team that actually switches into Flygon at all. I mean, Kyurem B is susceptible to the Outrage once Primarina is gone. So I figured that if I can get this thing weakened, then it's time for Flygon. It is time for Flygon, my dude. And so I go for the Flamethrower, just kind of hoping maybe he misses or something. But even if he KOs me with Stone Edge, which I'm pretty sure he has, then that's fine, for the reasons stated. I'm making sure, opening things up for my win condition, but we know what this game is. We know the game we play. I unfortunately get the burn. He still does a ton of damage to Charizard, but it still does kind of matter because essentially he loses a sack while I gain a sack. And now he goes into the Circuitry, and I make another YOLO play here. I figured that since this is still early game, my T-Tar is still healthy. It is absolutely my mid game 100%. I think he's going to want to, now that he's behind, I'm guessing that he's going to go for Volt Switch here instead of HPIs in order to regain momentum. So I go right into the Flygon as I guessed correctly. He goes for the Volt Switch, and now it's time for Flygon to run train. He cannot go into a Kyurem Black because I could very well be going for the Outrage. In fact, here I think he sort of predicts that, and maybe he thinks that Primarina might take these hits a little bit better, but I do go for the Earthquake. I figure any damage on Kyurem Black is better than no damage on Primarina, and it actually 2-hit KOs, which is I was pretty surprised by. So this was definitely no bulk Primarina, probably like Specs Timid if I had to guess, and just goodbye. And now here he goes into Alakazam, which I kind of don't agree with because I consider the possibility of maybe HP Ice, but I still stay in here, figuring that I could break his Sash right here, make him susceptible to Shadow Sneak by the Blade. But he actually goes for the Focus Blast here, predicting the Tietar. If he didn't have HP Ice, which I don't see why he would bring that versus my team. I don't have Zygarde, I don't have Landorus T, nothing like that. So nothing kills me. And I just get to take another Pokemon with Flygon. Goodbye. At this point, he goes into the Beedrill, which again I'm not really sure why he went straight to Beedrill, because I could have done some pretty big damage with the Earthquake nonetheless. But I still decide to play it safe, go into Double-A, take the U-turn. As he goes back into this threatening. This thing right here, the Xurkitree, and this time I am going to go into my Tyranitar. It is absolutely always my mid-play, but he guesses that correctly and goes for the Volt Switch. And now he kind of has me stuck in this Volt Turn game for a little bit, but because I'm so far ahead, I figured that's okay. I'm not going to let him psych me out here. As he goes into the Xurkitree here, and I actually go for the Zard Y, just kind of sacking it to break myself out of the Volt Turn cycle. I go back into Flygon. I am going to go just straight for the Earthquake. Obviously, Kyurem Black is going to take that rather well. In fact, he takes that very well, and he's leftovers. And here I decide to go to Tietar just as a nice mid-ground play, as he's actually a Draco Meteor set, which really caught me off guard. But I was mostly anticipating, like, I don't know, like an Ice Beam or something like that. Maybe even Earth Power to catch the Blade, if I decide to go that. So here, I believe I just set up my rocks here to, yeah, I set up rocks just so he can't Volt Switch around on my team. I do have Earthquake on this Tyranitar, so at this point, and I'm a lot more defensive. This is the first game where I actually brought a more defensive Tietar, specifically for something like this. And so I can just take the Energy Ball here, nice and easy, go for the Earthquake, goodbye. Gone. And so now he goes into the Beedrill here. I'm not actually sure what I do here. I do switch right back out into the Blade. Drill Run bounces off of me. And I do have Iron Head this time. I learned my lesson from getting bought by Diancie. In that game, I did bring Double Blade, but I did not have Iron Head. So I learned my lesson there. Go for the Iron Head. He goes for Fusion Bolt for some reason. I thought maybe Draco would have done more, but regardless, the game was over. I did not even send out Greninja or Mew once. So that kind of makes up for the hacks in the beginning, because that was basically the sack deficit right there being made up for by the fact that I essentially beat him with 4 Pokemon, just completely dropped on his neck. This is definitely the most satisfying game for me this season so far. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys soon next time. And now I am 6-4, in case that wasn't clear.